Alrighty then. So last video talked a little bit about light and shadows and about making forms. I talked a lot about how predictable light is because it travels in a straight line. So you can totally tell where those shadows are going to be. I mean, really, you can figure it out. Another thing that I talked about was values. And this time we were going to shade it. And so here's the value scale like you made last time. All good. So now we're going to practice a little bit working with these shadows and putting the light into different places. Okay, here we go. So at the end of this lesson, we should have something that looks a lot like this. And so you can see what I've got is I've got the light coming in from the one direction, and you can see how it's hitting the edge, coming down. That's where your shadow is. Light coming from the other direction. That's where your shadow is. That's where the shading is. And then even light, this is very important, light coming in from an angle. And I'll show you a little something about that as well. So, but first this one, let's keep it simple. So go ahead and I want you to draw a sphere, a cylinder, and a cube. So start off by drawing very lightly. Alrighty, we've got that here. Okay, there's my oval. There's my other oval. All right, and then here is my square, making my cube. So now, where's the light going to come down? So we'll make the light coming down just at an angle, just like so. And it's going to hit that leading edge. Here, let me darken these up real quick. So I've got those drawn, and so now that they are drawn, just the way I want them, and darken them up a little bit. You know, careful, careful. I think I might do a little bit of erasing right off the bat because an outline can really flatten things out. And if we're trying to make things look truly three-dimensional, like, so if I've got that light coming in this way and it's hitting this sphere, of course, this shouldn't be so dark here, this outline. I made that too dark. Okay, so a little bit lighter, keep it a little bit lighter. This one here too, I think I'll keep this a little bit lighter over here. I'll just darken out this side a little bit. That'll be all right. And then the cube, just darken this up a little bit here, a little bit here, and here, just so you can see it a little bit. And like I was saying, I'm going to have my light coming down. So here, this light's going to come down here. And then this light's going to come here and here. And it's going to hit this corner. See right here, it's going to hit this corner. All right, that's where that light is coming. Okay. So then that's how you know where the shadow's going to go. So just go from here, from the bottom of this sphere, you know that is where the shadow is going to go to. And the sphere, you're going to have to guess a little bit about the roundness of it because it's not going to come right off the bottom, because the sphere is sticking out a little bit, right? So it's going to come back here a little ways to get that. Now, the cylinder is a little bit easier because you made this oval here and you made this oval down here. And so you know that the shadow's got to come from this back part of that oval. So it can come out this way in the front and right to where that light comes down, right in between, right there. That's where that shadow is going to be. This is really easy. So we just have it coming off the corner here, here, and the shadow should probably make yet another parallelogram because we've just been working with parallelograms with that cube. Okay, fair enough. Oh, and one more thing. What's really going to make a form look three-dimensional is if you put it into a three-dimensional setting. So like this. Okay, let me go ahead and put a line right here. Okay. And I'm going to put a little line back here. This is going to be my horizon line. And we'll talk more about perspective and horizon lines a little bit later. But just suffice it to say, that's going to give it a little magical place to live in. And all of a sudden, everything's going to be so much more three-dimensional. Okay, so we've got the light coming down, let's say on this sphere. So we'll go ahead and we'll just do our little bit of shading right here, right? Start in the darkest area, because just like when we were doing that continuous value scale, there was nowhere to go but darker. So that was a nice, easy, safe place to put start your values off at. And so you know that if I got my light coming down like this, basically if I was to cut that sphere in half, it was going to be like this, wouldn't it? So that's how I know what direction that light is. Basically, you see just there, right angle. That's how I know. Okay, and soft, soft, soft. Get that little bit of rounded light. There we go. And that shadow, the shadow is going to be darkest at the bottom. And your drop shadow, your cast shadow right here, that's going to be darkest at the base. So like right underneath that thing, because that's where there's just going to be no light at all. None, none. And then what's going to happen is that shadow's going to get softer. I mean, unless you're in really harsh light, that shadow's going to get a little softer as it moves away. So there we go. That's not looking too bad. So it'll look much rounder. Now remember, there's a core shadow. There's that shadow that's right here. It's not right on the edge, not right on the edge. See, because there's that reflected light that comes around the edge. And in fact, sometimes when you're making reflected light and lighting effects, it's really effective to use the eraser of the pencil. The eraser is a tool too. So here we go. And soften that up, add a little bit of body into that. Okay, and then using my eraser here, give it a little bit of highlight right there as I remove some of that away, and maybe even taking and erasing some of that away here, giving it that reflected light, and it's really starting to look round now. Okay, so that's how I've shaded this little sphere. Okay, looking pretty good, not too bad. So now the cylinder, okay, so once again, if I've got this right angle here, or excuse me, I've got the light coming here, then I know that I could just go a right angle to here. See how that right angle, in other words, 90 degrees, boom, a corner right there. I know that's where my shadow is going to start. That's where my shading is going to start on the cylinder. That's where my shadow is going to be connected to the cylinder, right here. And look, see how that lined up? Right here is where that shadow was, right in the middle. And it also lined up right here, didn't it? Right? Amazing. Just works. Shadows are great because they are really, like I was saying before, super predictable. Super predictable because light travels in a straight line. So what does that mean? That means that it's probably going to be darkest right about here. That's my core shadow in that shading. It's going to get a little bit less intense as it comes around. Okay. And in my cast shadow here, it's going to be darkest at its core. Remember that cast shadow is coming off the whole cylinder, so the back of the cylinder, right, is where that's coming from. and then going to get softer as it moves away. No hard line on that shadow. Okay. Thinking about line quality, sometimes lines are very strong, but sometimes lines are very subtle. Those light lines. So there's a little bit of reflected light around there, maybe a little softening, giving it a little bit of body. And this outline, very light, this outline here. Because here's the thing. Life, life does not come with outlines. Look around you. You don't see any outlines on anything. You can get contour lines as one thing separates itself from another, but you don't get an outline per se, because that doesn't work, right? Who's got an outline? So now the little cube, that's really easy. We can just do that in a couple different stages here. We can make this really dark at the back. Okay, because that's in shadow. And then the light's coming here, so it's hitting the top, so that's going to be nice and bright at the top. So we're not going to do much of anything up there. And then the side over here, that's not getting the direct light, but it's also not in total shadow either. So we got a medium. So the cube's really nice because it's nice, basic, dark, medium, and light going on. All right. Soften that shading a little bit. And then here, this shadow, once again though, going to be kind of the most intense at the base and get a little softer as it moves away. So that's how I'm getting a pretty three-dimensional sort of look here. Let's label it light, I-G-H-T, because it is. And in the next few drawings, you're going to actually put in the light rays, as in, you're going to put in arrows that indicate the light, because I really want you to have sort of a mental picture of it, a mental clarity of where it goes. Because it's all about that light. So for this one here, we've got our next set of a sphere, a cylinder, and a cube. And so now just to make the light come in from the opposite direction, but it's just coming in just right here, just from the side, up, and from the side. Putting in a little arrow and really indicate it. Say light. This is light. Okay, that's the direction. So once again, my sphere, maybe don't darken up the whole thing, because that'd be very unnatural. Life does not come with outlines. But the dark part, maybe I can put a little bit on there and put a little bit of a line here. The most realistic thing would be that if my sphere was lighter, then I'd have my background be a little bit darker. So you naturally get a contrast between those things. Okay, once again, if this is the angle of the light here, then just at a right angle to that, see, that's where that shading is going to be for that. So we can just put that in here, starting in the darkest area, that's my core. Nice and dark. Use as much of the value scale as you can. That's how you're really going to make your drawings pop. You should be able to see your drawings from across the room. I mean, they should really read well from all the way across the room. That's how you know you have a good, strong communication, a good, strong graphic in your drawing. There's my shading there a little bit. And just like before, I might go ahead and erase away some of that. That's going to be giving me my highlight area there. And maybe a little bit where that reflected light is. Nice luminescence The eraser really gives a different sort of look to it. You know, once again, the eraser is actually a tool. And then I'm going to have the darkest part of the cast shadow is right next to the object. And it's going to get lighter. And you know, okay, so this shadow is going to come out, and not from the very bottom, but from here and also from back a little bit, because the sphere has some depth to it. And how far is it going to go out? Well, if you figured that there was an oval, like dissecting the sphere right here, then you know it's just going to come out to where it meets that oval, and there it is. That's the end of your shadow. The cylinder is a little bit easier. I'll darken up this side because I know this side's going to be in shadow. And I've got my oval right here that made up the bottom. So I know that that's where the shadow is going to come from. How far is it going to go? It's going to go right to here. So that's where that shadow, that's where the cast shadow is going to be. I know that it's coming right off right here, right about in the middle for this. You can see that would be a right angle. Everything lines up. So you know it's right. You know it's right. Okay. And so I'll put my core shadow right here. See, look it, I've drawn lightly, so I don't even have to worry about erasing those. Because when I shade it in, it's just going to cover it right up. You know, as we go on in our other classes, in the art class or the ceramics class, I'll try and show you ways that are efficient. So being efficient or being lazy, I don't know. I don't know which one you'd call me. Maybe I'm a little bit of both. But by being efficient, I don't have to work as hard. I get better results without having to work as hard at it. I don't like to work too hard. I don't know if I can avoid it. Okay, so nice soft outline. And the only reason why I have any sort of an outline at all there is just to separate one thing from another. That's what lines do after all. If I had a darker background, I wouldn't have to separate it. I wouldn't need a line. It would just be the difference of values between the back and the object. Okay. So the core shadow right back here, the darkest part is right at the base. And it gets lighter as it goes away. Okay. And then finally, we've got our cube right here. Now you can't see the darkest part of this cube, can you? Because it's opposite from where you're at. So we've got here, the top is obviously where the light is hitting the strongest. Okay, so I don't want too harsh of an outline right there. This side is also getting a lot of light. So it's really hard to say which is going to be brighter. They're both going to be pretty bright, aren't they? But then this side over here, this is the same as this over here. It's not getting the direct light, but it's also not in the deep shadow. So we'll give it a nice medium value right there. But where's that shadow going to go? Well, you know, this is the light's just coming from the side, right? We're keeping this really simple and having the light come from the side. So you could draw a line out here, and where that intersects with that arrow, that's where it is. And then you could remember before I was showing you like sort of like the hidden side of the cube. You could have a line here connecting here. That's the hidden side of that. So you know that this is going to come out here, and wherever that hits that light, that's where your shadow is going to be. This one happens to be just like right there, so you're not really going to see it at all. Get rid of that. Let that one in. Anyways, but you've got your shadow over here. So you just need a little bit of shadow, but still in all, just like before, maybe get a little softer as it moves away from that core area. Okay, I'm going to draw a line here separating it from my bottom one. But also watch this. See, those look pretty good, but watch this. Once I give my three-dimensional objects a three-dimensional space to live in, bam, look at that. I mean, that just really made them look three-dimensional, didn't it? But what if it's a little bit of an angle? So the light's coming in from the top, yeah, but also from the front a little bit. Okay, how do you work out that? That's a little bit trickier, but not too bad here. So let's put these things aside for a second. Okay, I think that at this point it'd be good to split this tutorial into two sections because it's getting a little bit long. So I'm going to end this one here and we'll just pick it up with the next tutorial.